Hello, people. This is Mac with Mac Commentary. Today I'm reporting on the recent passage. Matter of fact, it was on March 21st, 2023. The Uganda Parliament passed by an overwhelmingly vote in favor of a bill making certain homosexual acts a capital crime. The measure has now been sent on to President Yoweri Museveni, who is expected to sign it despite vocal foreign opposition. Now, there's over maybe 34 countries out of the approximately 54 countries in Africa who support some type of anti-homosexuality acts that they have passed into laws in those particular countries. Kenya and Uganda, they are moving to further curtail the rights of LGBT people whose relationships are already deemed illegal in the conservative East African nations. After a session lasting 7 hours, Ugandan lawmakers approved the Anti-Homosexuality Act last Tuesday, ordering harsh penalties for anyone who engages in same-sex activity. As I stated, while more than 30 African countries, including Uganda, already ban same-sex relationships, the new law passed appears to be the first to outlaw merely identified as LGBT, the Human Rights Watch said. In Kenya, a federal ruling by the Supreme Court upheld verdicts by lower courts stating that the government could not lawfully refuse to register an organization calling itself the National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission. Well, President William Ruto of Kenya, excuse me, and many religious leaders and political pundits have been condemning the court's conclusion that the Constitution barred discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. I'm a God-fearing man, and whatever happened at the court, even if we respect the court, our culture values, Christianity and Islam, cannot allow women to marry each other or men to marry fellow men. Now, President Ruto stated this on a local media outlet, Citizen TV. Supporters in both nations, Uganda and Kenya, said a lifestyle of the LGBT community threatens traditional values. I'd like to play this video on how some of the people there in Uganda reacted after the passage of this bill.
After Uganda's parliament passed sweeping anti-gay legislation, which proposes tough penalties for same-sex relationships following a highly charged and chaotic season, residents of the capital Kampala largely hailed the bill.
The bill was passed yesterday and we are very happy. As citizens of Uganda, culturally, we don't accept homosexuality, lesbianism, LGBTQ. We cannot, as Africans, we want to produce. We want everything to run normally.
The legislation enjoys broad public support in Uganda, and reaction from civil society has been muted following years of erosion of civic space under Museveni's increasing authoritarian rule.
The bill which had been passed for life, for those people who are interested in such a thing, though I'm a parent, children of ours are the ones doing such a things. If the Parliament had decided, it is okay, because I can't see such a child of mine doing such a thing.
Discussion about the bill in Parliament was laced with homophobic rhetoric, with lawmakers conflating child sexual abuse with consensual same-sex activity between adults.
As you can see, there are a few people that you just heard from, a couple anyway, who do not like, they are in favor rather of the passage of the Anti-Homosexuality Act in Uganda. If assented to by Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, the bill will hand authorities broad powers to target gay Ugandans who already face legal discrimination and mob violence. They tell me that same-sex relations are legal in only 22 of Africa's 54 countries and are punishable by death or lengthy prison terms in some, according to a global review by International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Intersex Association. Now, Africa accounts for nearly half of the countries worldwide where homosexuality is outlawed, according to the review. In Kenya, a Supreme Court ruling that the Constitution barred discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation sparked fears among some citizens who oppose the legalization of the same-sex relationships. Now, back in 2014, President Obama traveled to Kenya to get them on board with the LGBT rights. However, many people felt that Obama should not come to the U.S., to Kenya, talking about LGBT. Let's listen to a video on that and see what some of the people, clergy and others, are saying, did say rather, back in 2014 in Kenya about President Obama's visit there.
Nairobi is getting a facelift. The government has been sprucing up the capital city, preparing to host business leaders and presidents from around the world. But the buzz on the streets is all about President Obama's visit.
I think this is a guy who really appreciates his roots.
Obama visited the East African nation as a U.S. senator, but never as president. His father was from Kenya, and he still has relatives here.
Because he's our brother, we welcome him.
Polls show Mr. Obama enjoys widespread popularity among Kenyans. But the president's visit is not without controversy. You see, close to 700 Kenyan evangelical pastors have written an open letter asking the president not to talk about the gay agenda.
We do not want him to come and talk on homosexuality in Kenya or push us to accepting that, which is against our faith and our culture.
Mark Kariuki is the key architect of that letter. He leads an alliance representing 38,000 churches and 10 million Kenyan Christians. He welcomes the president's visit, but says leave the gay talk in America.
Let him talk about development, let him talk about cooperation, let him talk about the long-time relationship Kenya has had with America, but about our beliefs and culture, keep off.
Obama has used previous trips to Africa to urge governments to respect gay rights. Kariuki says the open letter is a warning to the president.
The family is the strength of a nation. If the family is destroyed, then the nation is destroyed. So we don't want to open doors for our nation to be destroyed.
Pro-family activists took to the streets of Nairobi this month, urging the president to avoid the subject when he visits.
Since Obama has a Kenyan descent, I think he should be more familiar with our culture.
Homosexuality is illegal in Kenya and 37 other African countries. In fact, Kenya's penal code says any individual who has carnal knowledge of any person against the order of nature can face 14 years jail time. Bishop Kariuki says he'll fight to keep homosexuality a crime in Kenya.
Because it is an abomination to God.
Top Kenyan politicians are also weighing in. The country's deputy president is quoted saying, "God did not create man and woman so that men would marry men and women marry women." Another lawmaker warned, "We shall tell him to shut up and go home if he talked about gay rights." After last month's U.S. Supreme Court ruling legalizing gay marriage in America, one politician here said allowing such a thing in her country would open, quote, "floodgates of evil," synonymous with the biblical Sodom and Gomorrah. Meanwhile, Bishop Kariuki says the president is destroying America with his support for gay marriage.
I believe that with all my heart. With that agenda, he's ruining America, because America has been known as a Christian nation. It has been known as a nation that has sent missionaries out. Now it is a different nation altogether, because it's an agenda against God.
George Thomas, CBN News, Nairobi, Kenya.
In Kenya, Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit of the Anglican Church speculated that the alleged spread of homosexuality was a sinister plot by environmentalists to depopulate the globe in an effort to address climate change. Meanwhile, during a parliamentary session, Member of Parliament Joshua Kimilu condemned the court decision as violating the law and warned that Kenya culture can be ruined by the West. It's amazing that you have many of the countries in the Western world who have reacted to this. What has happened to in Uganda on last Tuesday. The United Nations and the United States on Wednesday called for Museveni to reject what they said was an appalling and UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, urged Museveni not to propagate the law and the bill into law. The passing of this discriminatory bill, probably one among the worst of its kind in the world, is a deeply troubling development, he said in the statement. And I quote, "If signed into law by the president, it will render LGBT people in Uganda criminals simply for existing, for being who they are. It could provide carte blanche for the systematic violation of nearly all of their human rights and serve to incite people against each other." Even U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the legislature would undermine fundamental human rights of all Ugandans. It could reverse gains in the fight against HIV, AIDS, and urged Uganda to reconsider the implementation of the bill. The United Kingdom, Britain, England, Special Envoy on LGBTQ rights, Nicholas Herbert, said that while many countries, including a number on the African continent, are moving toward decriminalization, this is a deeply troubling step in the opposite direction. Well, these are the opinions of the West. And as you have seen on the video from Kenya, you've seen the opinion of those African nations who feel that the basis of a society is the family. And there's no way that same sex can create a family. Of course, they could go out and adopt. But this is their opinion, that this is the basis of their society, and this has nothing to do with their country, and they don't want it, and they want the West to keep it in the West. I mean, it's sort of like the philosophy, live and let live. And I'm not offering my opinion here, but you can see both sides of the coin. You have to decide. If you're Christian, then you have to look at it from a biblical perspective, that same sex is an abomination. Sodom and Gomorrah. So this is something that everyone has to think about. So someone said to me, said, well, if you're an atheist, what about if you're an atheist? Well, that's your prerogative. If you want to do these things, no one said that you can't do these things, but why should you legalize it in the perspective, or if you are a Christian country, why would you want to have these when the Bible specifically condemns these types of acts as sinful? How can you ask God for forgiveness, but yet every day you go back and do the same sin over and over? If you go out and commit murder and you ask God to forgive you, and he said he would forgive us if you repent for your sins. But if you go out there every day, you're going out there killing people, then there's something is wrong there. Then you are not trying to abide by the biblical teachings. So anyway, people, I just want to hear your comments and your opinions on this. What do you think? Do you think the African countries who are adopting this type of anti-homosexuality laws, do you think that is okay for them? Do you think that the United States and the West, Europe, Australia, that these countries should be condemning them for what they feel is right for their country? Let me hear your comments, people. I appreciate it. Also, subscribe, like, and share this video. And have a great rest of your day.